Artemis Toast here, and I'm pretty excited to talk about the 2017 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees. They announced that recently. I don't know exactly when they announced it, but I read it on the interwebs today, so that's why I'm talking about it. You know, um, First off, every time they announce these things, obviously you can't please everybody. People are gonna feel that such and such band got snubbed, or you know, excuse me, so and so doesn't belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's not rock and roll. Um, you know, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. But my personal opinion regarding the matter is, since rock and roll's inception, it's evolved over time, and it actually started as something completely different, or a mesh of many different genres. So you can't really pigeonhole it to a four-piece band with a guitar, lead singer, bassist, and drummer. Strictly playing rock music. There's even rock itself has so many subgenres. So you really can't, um, you know, just because the name of the place is Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's not pigeonholed to just rock and roll. You know, the the bands, personnel, uh, different members in the industry that get inducted, into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame are there because they made an impact, in on the music, industry as a whole, and that's what earned them their right to be there. And I personally feel that the 2017 class is a great class. First off, Joan Baez, in his 60s. I actually wish I had a record to hold up. I realized I don't have a Joan Baez record, and if you watch my previous videos, I am a fan of singer songwriters, so that's something I'm gonna have to remedy in the near future. But once again, during the political landscape during the mid to late 60s, the Vietnam era, you know, uh, when a lot of these, singer songwriters, came to be, your Bob Dylan's, etc. Obviously Joan Baez, who we're talking about, she was part of a social change, and also wrote fantastic songs. So that earned her right. Um, if you watch some of my all kinds of awesome album reviews, I'm a big fan of Electric Light Orchestra. And in particular, not to demean everybody else in the band, but Jeff Lynne himself, the producer, songwriter, lead singer, performer, the very and once again, not to demean the other members of ELO, Electric Light Orchestra. Jeff Lynne was the heart of that band. He was that band in my personal opinion. Great songwriter, one of those people who took every reign. Had complete ownership of from inception to the release product, which is all kinds of awesome. You know, Journey. Um, you know, Journey was first off a great band. Steve Perry, great lead singer. I know they found that other gentleman on the YouTubes who sounds and forgive me, I don't know his name. Sounds identical to Steve Perry. I don't know how that's going to work with the induction process. Hopefully they're cool when they include past members and current members of the band. Always have respect when they do that. Um, you know, music lovers know who wrote the songs, who was there when, what song was popular and who was most responsible, so they don't need to isolate current members, because they weren't around in '74 when a song got written. Um, you know, Pearl Jam, of that grunge era of the early '90s, essentially. Pearl Jam wrote some great tracks. They much like Soundgarden and Alice in Chains. They were very rock and roll. You know, just happened to be in the grunge era. Um, Great live performances. I was fortunate enough to see in the mid '90s. I was able to see. I guess around the time Yield came out, whenever that was. So their catalog was pretty nice. I got to see Pearl Jam a few times. Great live performers. That Mike McCready, all around great band. Obviously, I think they deserve to be in there. Um, Tupac Shakur, and this gets into that thing about, oh, he's a hip hop artist or whatever. But everybody knows who he is. He was an innovator. Um, you know, um, not in its infancy, but early in the evolution of hip hop. You know, he's one of the most memorable lyricists. And you got your Rakim. There were a lot of storytelling rap. Uh, you know, um, a little bit later on, early '90s, '94 ish. I think you got Nas. Where rap was becoming more intellectual and complex, and you know uh, touching on current events, and having a relevance for the time period, through stories being told by rappers that basically expressing their experiences. And Tupac was certainly great. Once again, great lyricist. I remember seeing him real early on with Digital Underground. Great actor too. Poetic Justice, Above the Rim. You know, oh, that one with Omar Epps, Juice. Really, really good stuff. Unfortunately, he passed away, but definitely, I think his mom just passed away too, unfortunately. Um, but definitely deserves to be inducted. Also, yes. If you've watched some of my previous videos, I'm a huge fan of Yes. I did video. I haven't done all kinds of awesome review of Close to the Edge, but I did one of Fragile, and I also did. You see some of my back videos. I also did a video of the late great Chris Squire. You know, if I'm not mistaken, longest you know running member. From beginning to end, the only member that was the same throughout the period or something like that. I could be wrong, but once again, a great fan of the late great incredible bassist Chris Squire. Which brings us to the award for musical excellence, which is Nile Rodgers. Man, Nile Rodgers is one of those musicians, producers, all around music guy that come on many things. So many that forgive me, I can't even. He's performed live with so many people. He's been a session musician for so many great musicians. No, and this is definitely Nile Rodgers definitely deserves his place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as well. Um, but once again, this is just my thoughts on the exciting new inductees into the 2017 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think it's all kinds of awesome. Many people may disagree. You know, opinions vary. But, you know, just enjoy the music, man. Rock on.